lately, in the last few years, I've had more what I would call, quote unquote, spiritual experiences. They're hard sometimes to separate them from psychological ones. And as I mentioned before, the fact that I have mental illness, bipolar disorder, so you can be very high or very low. And especially on the times when I'm very high, that's when I feel more in touch with the universe. Okay, so my name is Carl Blumenthal, and my personal pronouns are he, him, his. I live in West Flatbush, Brooklyn, New York, and I attend Brooklyn Monthly Meeting. So it was around, the beginning of 2000 or so, when I decided, I had been an urban health planner for like 25 years, and decided it was time for me to give back to the community that I hadn't acknowledged as being part of, which is people living with mental health conditions. And I became what's called a peer counselor, using my experience of mental illness and adding to that some training from other people who have gone through it themselves. So that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years or so. During the pandemic, when I was working for NYC Well, it's the city's mental health hotline, crisis line. I had many encounters of a spiritual kind, and it's amazing how deeply you can connect with people over the phone or even through chats and texting. When people are vulnerable and they're reaching out for help, and you're their lifeline. I mean, I help people who were in the process of trying to kill themselves, get help. Essentially, you're recognizing that of God in everyone, and encouraging the healing process, the natural healing process that everybody can tap into if they're open enough to it. And I think that spiritual experiences is often an important part of the healing process for people. The reason I'm interested in the connection between Quakers and mental health is that George Fox himself, I think, was going through you might call it an existential crisis, you might call it a severe depression, when he found himself on Pendle Hill and discovered or rediscovered Christ, and realized that Jesus spoke to his condition. As a result, he went on to heal a lot of people, I think, both psychologically as well as spiritually. In the late 1700s, the York Retreat was founded in York, England. At the time, people with mental illness were being chained in dungeons, and that was, they were treated like criminals or poor people. I mean, all lumped together in that same inhumane way. And this Philadelphia minister Thomas Scattergood went over there. He suffered from a depression himself, and he learned from the principles of the York Retreat to bring them back to Philadelphia, and he helped found Friends Hospital, or it was called Friends Asylum at the time. This was about 1813. So that was the first private psychiatric hospital in the U.S. So when I wrote my first article about, this was during the pandemic, about Quakers and Quaker therapists, how they were reacting to the mental health challenges of the pandemic, I cited this history. My ability to write has at times saved my life, being able to be in touch with my unconscious, both spiritually and psychologically. And then at other times when I've had writer's block, it's resulted in depression and even suicide attempts. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword. I think there's probably a history of creative people who've also had mental health conditions, particularly those who've had bipolar disorder. And so I feel like I'm in that tradition. And I guess you can say I'm a descendant of George Fox in that way. I'm sure on Pendle Hill he was pretty high.
Thank you for watching this episode of Quaker Speak. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up and a comment so we can reach even more friends. For more videos, click this playlist here. To subscribe to Quaker Speak, click this here. And to support us on Patreon, click here. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Thursday.